we've got to make our way out of attachment behaviors so that we could ascend to having healthy connections rather than attachments that cause us great suffering, that causes the drama, the trauma, and the long lived pain, cycles of generational curses, so on and so forth. These are things that we have the power to fix. And we could be the first to demonstrate to the broader community out there how accurate, how powerful, and how liberating astrology can be when you approach it with the resilience to face the facts, to face the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly. How transformational it could be when you could brave the truth that natal astrological readings and accuracy can really explain to you and offer you power in. Okay? So, infamous astrology, this has to be the opportunity for us to show the whole world, the whole community, what astrology could do for us. But it takes for us to make up our minds to be the demonstrators of that, to be the living proof of what that could be or what that could look like. It can't happen if we're not getting involved. Attachments can make phantoms of us in the present moment. And the eighth house is where we have our intimate connections or relationships. However, when we have a crisis in the fourth house that's not addressed, healed, or reconciled, those attachments last to the past themes, the past perceptions, experiences of life. And they alter our perception of the present moment. We also, for that reason, because it's not experiences that we want to relive over and over again, we fear it. We fear the feeling. We fear to be overwhelmed with emotional burdens that we do not have the skills or resources to properly digest and process. So we project ourselves into the future to prevent it from coming. So we show presence in the past and in the future, but we're not present in the moment with those significant others. When we're present with others, often we find that those offenses are not there in reality. There are times when we find that a person is not doing to us what we're expecting to be done to us because of past projections and ideals that we had to live through. And we can dart ourselves into the future to prepare ourselves for the hit, to prepare ourselves for the disappointment. And we're essentially attracting the very thing that we fear. Because anything that we fear, we must face in order to overcome that fear. Because that is how truth works. It must confront fear. So, this discourse is more so about attachments versus connections, but I want to emphasize on attachments, and then at another time we talk about the connections. Now, being present is where we want to get to in the eighth house, being present. And when we're present, I wait for you to lie to me before that I expect that you may have a hard time finding the courage to be honest. Before that I have to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out, is this person being dishonest with me because I'm overbearing? Do they lack courage? Are they insecure for some reason to make certain things known? Why do they lie? And the last place I'm going to go to is commercial resources to figure out those answers. Such as, if they lie, they'll steal, they're no good, they're evil. No. Everybody tells lies. And everybody tells lies for different reasons. And I know it's for me to find out what those reasons are, depending on what those untruths are that a person is speaking or communicating or withholding. get down to the bottom of it, if the grace is there to do that. So that's just an example of, to look into where the behavior is coming from. Now, when we're dealing with fourth house issues that are unresolved, and we have attachment issues at the eighth house, one sign that this is the case is the person is never present. They're projecting from the past, or they're reaching into the future of what misfortunes can happen. Now, why is this? It's because in the past, the person had to live through fears and disappointments that was too overwhelming to process. So we don't want that to ever happen. So you try to exercise control in order to have a permanent outcome, a permanent determination of what it's going to be. The deal has to be sealed. So I need to know without any question, are you going to be here tomorrow? Are you going to leave me? Are you going to walk away from me? Are you going to cheat on me? If I behave a bad way, are you going to leave me? If I say the wrong thing, are you going to leave me? If I don't turn out to be as attractive as I am today, tomorrow, are you going to still be there? Are you still going to love me the same way? We're looking for promises. This is us projecting into the future. But the projection of the future comes from the attachment of the past. It's based on the premise of past attachments and fear. Okay? So, grandma left me. Mama left me. Pops left me. Are you going to leave me the same way? You see, my first boyfriend left me. My first girlfriend left me. Are you going to leave me the same way? You see, so it's a premise of the past that's projected into the future. But the present moment, you're not connected to the present moment. So these are signs that this is what's going on. Understand? You're trying to put your hands in the way to block the punch that might not even be coming. It's like you're standing in front of a person and you're blocking your head, or you got your guard up. You're showing your teeth. You're covering, your most vital parts, because you're preparing yourself for a blow, a disappointment, a pain that you don't have the resources to process. And usually when a person does face the inevitable of this, because what you fear most, you must attract. Because what we fear most, we must come to the truth that it wasn't anything to fear in the first place. So when the inevitable does come, because of the power of your prophecy over that, the behavior is coming from fear. And when behavior of that extreme comes from fear, it can be dangerous. The person could black out. They could lose it. They could just go on a violent streak. They can say things and do things that are totally out of their nature. Say things and do things that no one can manage or control the outcome of. A total rampage. So this is something that you want to seek professional help for if you feel like this is something that you're going through. Understand? Essentially, what we're doing when we have these emotionally driven attachments is we're attempting to keep or maximize a level of control that gives us a false sense of security about what we're experiencing or who we are experiencing. You met a guy and you really like him. You met a girl and you really like her. And this guy or this girl happens to source to you a feeling that you felt you were denied in your childhood. A feeling or an experience that you felt was kept away from you, denied you, or that you were rejected behind in childhood. So now that they have become the provider of what you were denied in childhood, or at least you had a perception of being denied in childhood, there's this hyperactive effort that is driven from the emotional outburst of the inner child to secure that person into your life. Now we make the mistake of seeing the person as source rather than a resource. It's okay to see a person as a resource for certain feelings and emotional experiences that we want to have. But we should never mistake a person as being source of our emotional vitality and well-being, peace, or any of those status that goes along the essential functions of the inner self. Never do that. If we find ourselves doing that, we are worshiping that person. We are not only worshiping that person, we are setting ourselves up for a very painful outcome. Because now you have expectation that they are going to carry the burden of your mother, your grandmother, or other nurturing figures in your life, your father or whoever else that this pain came from. Your mother may not have held on to you long enough, opened the door for you enough times to let you in to sit on her bed. It may have been a case where, you didn't get the love or attention or priority that you perceived from your childhood view as being sufficient. And now that this person comes into your life, you don't want to relive the memory of when daddy left or when mommy left, or when they didn't have time for you, or they didn't have the emotional energy that you really needed. So now that they're showing up with that, you make the mistake, or I make the mistake, understand, of projecting that blame onto that person. We make them the recipient of that wrath. We make them pay the price for that experience. Because emotionally we have identified this person as the key nurturer that the inner child was looking for. And it's like the inner child was looking for this person all along, but really it was the mother or the nurturer, or the father or the nurturer. And the inner child doesn't know that this is Charlie or this is Max or this is Sarah. The inner child only knows that it's a feeling that I get that's very familiar to the feeling that I felt denied of when I was younger. So I feel entitled to be loved. I feel entitled to be inquired about. I feel entitled to be kept and held. I feel entitled to be protected and defended. I feel entitled to all these things because I know that when I was younger, I did have the right to feel entitled to that. But now that I'm older, I no longer can grieve. I no longer can demand those things from my, parents or from the nurturing figures in my life. So I'm going to continue this seeking of justice through this person who I'm in the 8th house with. So now that you're here and I see that you have the capacity to give me that same emotional feeling, I'm going to charge this to you in court. It's kind of like a guy steals a car and he got away. So I find another guy who matches his description and I make him pay for the crime of the guy who stole the car. That's essentially what you're doing, okay? So you cannot go back in the past and charge your parents for that. It's too late. They're elders now, or, all this time has passed. You understand? It's nothing you could do about that except to change the meaning of that experience to you in the current present time. However, because it has happened and the inner child still wants that justice, the inner child still wants to go to court for that. The inner child still wants fairness. So when the inner child experiences a man or a woman who gives you the same feeling that you didn't get enough from, it's like they're giving you a taste of the bottle that got snatched out of your mouth, the emotional bottle that got snatched out of your mouth. You're tasting it again with this person who you're with in the 8th house, okay? And now that you get a taste of it again, you say, hold up, aren't you the one that betrayed me? Aren't you the one that ran off on me? Aren't you the one that denied me? Are you going to do it again? Hold up, lock that door. So you tell the person, okay, lock that door. You're not going anywhere. Give me your phone. Are you talking to anybody? Are you sure you're single? Are you going to leave me again? Are you going to run off on me again? So the inner child is mistaking this person for the mother. The inner child is mistaking this person for that nurturing figure that they know, okay, you owe me emotion. You owe me nurturing. You owe me emotional security. You owe me a promise that you will never leave me. You owe me the promise that you will never betray me or leave me neglected. You have to make me feel secure. You have to make me feel certain that you will never leave me. You will never stop loving me. Because that's what my nurturing figure in early childhood was supposed to do, but they didn't. But you know what? Since you're here, I'm going to make you do it. I'm going to hold you to it, and you better not betray me. So this all gets projected onto the wrong person. That's not who that is. You see what I'm saying? So then we start projecting all these energies onto the person, and now we're living out attachment. And everything that the person does, it's where you going? Why you got to go over there? What's in your phone? Who you talking to? So on and so forth. And it becomes this hyperactive fear, okay, where you're never present, but you're projecting your fears into the future, and you're clinging on to the misery of the past, and you're making this person pay for it. You understand? So we really got to look into these type of things, because it starts at the fourth house and we bring it into the eighth house. Okay, this can't be emphasized enough. I'm just going to be very general as I go down these slides. All right. Now, attachments, it really begins with a perceived loss. You're perceiving loss, negligence, abandonment, isolation of the inner child. At the fourth house, okay, that beginning story, this is what you perceived. And the attachments have to do with grief of the past and fear of the future. Grief of the past and fear of the future. So every person has to do an investigation into the fourth house. Black Moon Lilith is going through the eighth house Scorpio. That means the eighth house and Scorpio placement of every one of us has Black Moon Lilith energy moving through it. And this is to provoke us to address these things. So these themes are going to rise all the way up to the open, to the surface, out in the open. That's why I'm going over these eighth house things, okay? And what you need to remember as it comes up is I can't fix this in the eighth house. I have to fix this. I have to fix my portion of this mess from the fourth house. And everyone who's in the eighth house with you, they have to fix their portion of the mess from their fourth house. That's how you fix the eighth house issue, is from the fourth house. You have to go back to the fourth house and heal it. You have to go back to the fourth house and correct it. The good news about that is whoever you're in the eighth house with is projecting a hologram of the past crisis that you had with the fourth house. It's a natural projection of that hologram. It's a natural projection. So whatever arguments, power struggles, crisis, and drama that you have with people or entities in your eighth house, which could also include a career pathway that you've taken, all you are doing is reliving your childhood psychology all over again from the fourth house. So it's a chance for you to step out of a personal attachment to the experience and see, this is my chance to heal myself. Because if I can maneuver this situation in live time with this person in the eighth house with me, or this entity or business institution with the eighth house that's triggering my insecurities and my fears, my fear of being abandoned, my fear of being rejected, my fear of not being exclusive, my fear of not being chosen, my fear of not being loved and adored, my fear of not being prioritized, not being held enough, not being told that I'm beautiful, or you know what I'm saying, I'm a good person, or I'm lovable, or whatever else. I could heal it now. And I could heal it by, doing an investigation on myself. How do I feel to realize I'm not the most special person in this person's life? Or to realize that even though this person says I'm beautiful, they find other people beautiful. Even though this person says that they love me, they probably feel the same way about somebody else. These are real life things. I'm not going to give you poetry or fake life things. I'm going to give you real life things. We attract these crises into our life because it's the only way we can heal. Okay? So if I, for example, if I had this crisis in my past, I have to relive it again later on so that I can fix it. You see? So whatever you're going through in the eighth house with someone, where your insecurities are being provoked and your fears are being provoked around abandonment and rejection, it's only because you went through that exact same thing from the fourth house in early childhood. That's going to be the case every single time. It will never vary from that. You see? So if I'm with a woman, for example, and I'm saying to myself, okay, let's say, she's really, this woman's really great. She's really, beautiful. I love everything about her. She gives me a good feeling. And I could say in my head, oh, I hope she doesn't cheat on me. I hope there's not some other guy on her mind who's in her phone, or all these other different things. All I'm doing is I'm revisiting what I used to say about the mother. That's all I'm doing. I'm revisiting what I would say about my mother. Okay? I hope that she's going to have time for me. I hope that she's going to prefer to pay attention to me, or look at the pictures that I drew, or celebrate me, or clap for me, or hug me, or love me, instead of sharing that with my siblings, instead of sharing that with business conversation, instead of taking time to herself and closing the door, or whatever else. It starts with those. That's where it started at. You see what I'm saying? Because in a childhood perception, that's your mother having a third party, or your grandmother, your father, or whoever the nurturing person was. You seen them, or you perceive them as having a third party. A third party is not just a person that somebody's cheating on you with. A third party is somebody else who's getting, similar investment of their energy, time, and commitment. Okay, you're having to share that person with another business, or another entity, or another person of some sort. Okay, that's a third party. So you're in a third party situation. So as a child, you perceived a third party situation. So when you become an adult, if you didn't learn how to process and digest that energy, how to address that energy, how to communicate that energy, you now lack the skills of how to deal with it, and you still behave like the same child that you were when it comes to that situation. You see? So when it comes to you perceiving that the man you're with, or the woman that you're with, is sharing intimacy with somebody else, sharing their time, their energy, their love with somebody else, you can't handle that. You can't fathom it, because you are still at the emotional developmental levels of that 5-year-old, that 7-year-old, that 9-year-old, okay, when this all took place. So you have to catch up those skills, which can take a very long time, okay? So it's going to require patience for you to deal with things of that nature. But the only way is to live out the reality. So for that reason, you're destined to re-attract that same emotional crisis, so that you can learn how to develop the skills and the emotional technology to be able to help to process those emotions in a healthy way. So somebody manifested in your life as cheating on you, or somebody you can't trust, their phone is always going off, and things are just going through your mind of what is this and what is that. That's not an accident. That person manifested in your life as a soul contract to help you to heal that insecurity about yourself, is what it's about. It's not even about that person. It's about what effect they're having on you as an opportunity for you to heal those insecurities within yourself. Doesn't mean that they're not cheating. Doesn't mean that they're not sharing, with a third party, or whatever else. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, it's giving you the opportunity to heal how it affects you. How it affects you. You get what I'm saying? Because you're going from the emotional technology of a 5-year-old and trying to catch up to the emotional technology of a 35, 45, 55-year-old, 65-year-old. Understand? Okay? And yes, that really does happen. Okay? So we throw tantrums just like 5-year-olds. We throw tantrums just like 7, 9-year-olds when these things happen to us. We fall apart. We pull our hair out. We get sick. We cry until our face just turns beady red. we want to kill ourselves and all this other crazy stuff, we still have the same emotional technology as a 5-year-old because we don't know how to handle or process, digest these very sophisticated emotional dynamics and experiences. Understand? So again, I'm just presenting this. I'm not going deep. I'm just presenting food for thought, okay? Around the 8th house. If you have these sophisticated, complicated issues going on, seek professional help, okay? But also remember, allow this to be opportunity to really get another perspective on what you've been going through, okay? And let it also guide you to get your natal birth chart reading, okay? Your natal birth chart reading. Let me help you with your natal birth chart reading, especially concerning the 4th house, the moon placement, the lunar placement. You need to know your astrological story. I have to explain that to you so that you can be more empowered to maneuver these things, okay, and understand what to do about it. Now, the other detail is that entrapment can come along with this, okay? When you fear having to relive the experience of sharing the emotional the emotional resources that you're getting out of a person, or the intimate resources that you're getting out of a person, you fear to share that. You see scarcity around that. You could have had many siblings growing up, or you could have, seen mommy or daddy, whoever else, given their, attention to so many other things, and it developed this fear of lack in you, of being able to get enough of it, okay? Enough attention or enough pouring in of these things. And so you can practice entrapment when it comes to that, okay? In an 8th house situation, you see someone who represents a resource of those emotional needs that you have, and you could do something like trap them with a baby. You could get pregnant on purpose. You know what I'm saying? You could tie yourself into permanent bonds, and this is a subconscious thing that you could do that you don't even realize. Like, for example, you do things like you're rushing to get this person to move in with you. You're rushing to get this person to sign papers and documents that creates permanence around your name and their name. You're trying to hurry up and introduce them to your family members and all these other things so that you could tie knots and sow seeds of permanence around your stories. You see what I'm saying? You're trying to make it so that the person is invested in you and you're invested in them so that they just can't walk away, okay? Because subconsciously there's this understanding that if you put an anchor, an investment, or some type of permanence, the person cannot just easily get up and fly away. So you're trying to clip their wings. You're trying to do something to put an anchor about this person. And the truth is that it's not that you even see the person as special. It's just that what you get out of the person, according to your inner child's perception, is special or invaluable. Okay? The inner child says, I cannot do without this. I have got to have that feeling. I have to have that source, that plug from this person. And so it doesn't matter if it's Joe, Donald, Sarah, Tina, or Lisa. Okay? That doesn't make a difference. That's a mistake that we make. The point is that this person is allowing you to relive, the opposite end, the opposite spectrum of the lack that you were getting emotionally when you were a child. And so now you want to find a way to tie them down to you, lock them in with you. And if anything poses a threat to you keeping that person around or keeping that person attached to you, you get violent, you lose it, you go all out, you do whatever you got to do to protect, to put a threshold, to put a fence, to put a gate around that person. You turn into a wild animal. You become like an overprotective guard dog. When dogs see any threat to the person who they love, they show their teeth, they growl, they get violent. But with us, that's not love. That's insecurity. And you get animalistic when that insecurity comes about. You get violent. You just lose any you lose any understanding when it comes to dignity, self-respect. You just throw all of that out of the window because you're desperate. You're desperate for this person not to leave. Your aim is for them to have permanence in your life, to not leave. And you get infatuated about that permanence. You get perverse about that permanence. And you get obsessed about that permanence. Remember, obsession goes with Pluto and Scorpio. Now, the natal Chiron could have a lot to do with where you experience these themes of negligence or lack, or themes of inadequacies that lead to the insecurity that we have. You want to understand the story behind your Chiron placement. You also want to understand the story behind your lunar placement, as well as the fourth house and Pluto, especially if Pluto or Saturn or Mars has any close relationship with the moon, or if Venus has a close relationship with the sun, which, pretty much is usually a stepfather, okay? Or when the sun or the moon is in the 12th house, that could be a very serious thing as well, okay? Or when you see Mars with the moon, you see Chiron with Mars and the moon. That's a very serious thing, okay? And so these are things that you want to know, not assume. You want to understand them, because the relationships you have in the 8th house are not about the people that's in the 8th house. It's about what they cause you to realize about yourself is what it's all about. And it's anything that takes place in the 8th house of drama or trauma, it's taking you into a catalytic opportunity to rectify what's going on in the 4th house. So any misfortunes in the 8th house, it's opportunity for you to heal the 4th house. That is the way it is every single time. And you should remember that so that you can get out of the personal attachment to the experience, and you could catch the lesson, the opportunity of the experience, transform and grow. Surrender, transform, and grow. Understand? Jealousy and envy did not begin with some guy or some girl, okay, who made you feel jealous. It started in childhood. That's where it began. Because if you, throughout your life, have experiences, like constant, reoccurring experiences of jealousy and envy, it's opportunities, once again, it's 8th house opportunities for you to do what? For you to go back to the 4th house and heal it. That's why that person manifested to do exactly that. Okay? People manifest in your life for reasons. There's no accidents. They come there by schedule to do what they do, to cause what they cause, because it is a scheduled event for your destiny. Nobody came by accident. A specific person, specific people come into your life to do specific things, to cause specific causations that allows you opportunity for growth. Okay? But we tend to want to be stubborn and arrogant and selfish about the matter, and we miss the opportunity. Okay? And we sink farther and farther down into the dark. We never fix it. Okay? Jealousy and envy began with our first experiences or perceptions of scarcity. Okay? This would be as simple as you're fighting for the last pack of noodles when you got 5 or 4, 3 other siblings. Okay? You're fighting for exclusive attention of a parent who has 5 other kids to give attention to. But what if you happen to be, for example, a Libra rising and you cherish relationships, okay? But you don't get that type of energy out of your parent because they might not have that, same synastry in them. What if you're a water, stellium kid, and your siblings are earth stelliums, and the parent just treats all of you the same like earth stelliums, but you needed a whole lot more emotion than the other ones did, but you didn't get it. So now in your adulthood, you're trying to compensate for that. You're trying to make up for it, and you're making other people pay the price of what you didn't get. You see, this is the point that I'm trying to make. This also lets us know why, once again, you need a natal birth chart reading for your children, not just for yourself. because you yourself could be fucking your kids up and don't know it. Your intentions might be well, but your intentions ain't got shit to do with you being incorrect. It don't have nothing to do with you fucking their heads up. It has nothing to do with you destroying their psychology. It has nothing to do with you being incorrect with your kids. Damn your intentions. Fuck your intentions, okay? It's about whether or not you have a correct disposition or correct understanding with your children according to the natal birth chart. All right? It's your intentions is not what saves them. Your intentions is not what helps them. Okay? Because I can intend well all day, but ignorance does damage. Regardless of how much my intentions are good and noble, if I'm ignorant, I can only do damage. And that's why you need to have natal birth chart, not just for your selfish, arrogant ass, but for your children too. What about your fucking kids? You understand? You can't treat one child the same as the other. You can't discipline one child the same as the other. They have different energies. They have different ruling numerological values to their self. So their perceptions of you and their reality is totally different. One child might perceive the household through Scorpio, another child perceive the household through Libra, one child perceive the household through Leo. They have different outlooks and different reports on what happened when they were children. Okay? They also have different outlooks on you. You need to know exactly what that is. That could be predicted, that could be understood and clarified even when the very day that the baby is born. Understand that. Okay? But what we have to get in a habit with is it's all up to us. Here with Infamous Astrology, we have the chance to show and prove and demonstrate not only how powerful astrology can be, how revolutionary it could be, but how much freedom, liberation, and healing that it has to offer. But how can that be the case if you're not getting your readings on a regular basis so that you can become the evidence and proofs of what it can do, what it can accomplish in your life and for your children, your relationship, your siblings, your loved ones, and whoever else? How can that happen if you're not being the proof, you're not being the evidence? Understand that. You can't just sit back, hide off in the back and think that a miracle is going to happen. You have to get involved. Understand? You have to get involved. Now, cheating can manifest as an offering to heal. Right? What is to be healed is a fear of not feeling worthy or entitled to exclusivity and intimacy. Again, competition with other siblings. You're fighting for the attention from the intimate figure of the household or the family. And it feels like your nurturing parent is cheating on you when there's a third party situation going on. They're sitting there talking to the plumber and you feel jealous. They're giving attention to your uncle, your other sibling, the mailman, and you're jealous of the attention. They're laughing at somebody else's jokes, but they didn't laugh at your jokes yet. They told your sister she was pretty for the prom, but nobody ever told you you were pretty for the prom. Now somebody else has to pay for all this insecurity that was packed into you at a very early age because you didn't know what to do with that emotion. You didn't know what to do with those feelings. But now that you are the adult that you are, it's your responsibility to figure it out. It's your responsibility to go and fix it. Because one thing you can't do is keep projecting it onto other people. Because when you have this going on inside yourself, it has to come to surface to fix it. So if that's the case, somebody got to come in your life and cheat on your ass so that you could address it and fix it. Because if somebody don't come in your life, dog your ass out and cheat you, okay, and cheat on you over and over again, you will never sit with it, visit it, and figure out how to fix that problem. That didn't start with them cheating, but it started with you perceiving your nurturing elders from cheating on you with the love that you felt exclusive to or entitled to. That's where the cheating began. It started with you perceiving cheating early on with the nurturing figures of your family. Understand that. And you have to relive it over again. Okay? Somebody got to come and dog your ass out and cheat you so that you can see what the reality of the situation behind it is, and that all of that pain, it comes from your perception, not from the power that you give other people to hurt you. because you have to give somebody the power to hurt you. Understand that part. Wait, these are very basic and general, rundowns. I did not go into depth into anything, but what I'm really trying to bring our attention to is that we need to know the story of our fourth house. We need to know the story of our childhood. We need to know the story that's behind, how we perceive the mother figures or the nurturing figures in our family or our fathers as well. Okay? If you're not getting natal birth chart readings, these are things that you're assuming, but you might not know or understand the way that you should understand it. Okay? The planets tell the truth. The planets tell the whole story. Understand? Because when you came here as a brand new baby, the story was already told, and you're just simply living it out. Okay? I never lived with you. I never walked with you in your life, but yet my guarantee is that I could explain your life better than you can. I could explain you better than you can. I can understand you better than you can in an instant, in one glance of your natal birth chart. That is not because I'm special. It's because the planets are that accurate. It's because God's perfect wisdom made it that way.